Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about battles versus wars. I don't want to be one of these war channels, but I do believe that understanding the difference between battles and wars and how they connect with one another will help you improve your communication skills. Battles are things that are happening in the foreseeable future and in the present moment, while wars are long term. They're going and happening with a long time span. And the time span will really depend on what perspective you are operating with. Let me tell you a story when it looked like I took an L, but in some ways you could argue that I took a W as well. When I first moved to this location, roughly around 2019, there was an issue with the internet. Every now and then the internet would be working fine and dandy, and then out of the blue moon, the internet stops working. So I one day get it fixed, and the guy that came over to fix it was like, "You should be good to go." Then the next week, the Friday, the same thing happens again. So I call the internet and I'm connected to this customer support lady who clearly doesn't feel like she wants to be there. I mean, she has this attitude from the very beginning. We're talking back and forth, and eventually she says, "All right, sir, I can't send anyone till next week." Next week? At this point, I'm working on ArmaniTalks, aka an internet-based business, and you're telling me that I can't have internet for 1 week? And I tell her, "Look, lady, the same thing happened the week before, and you know what happened? That guy from the week before also said that they can't send anyone for 1 week. I told them that it was an emergency, and that guy ended up escalating the issue, which allowed them to send someone the same day. Lady, I need you to escalate this issue." But at this point, her ego was engaged. She said, "No, I can't do that." And I said, "You must do that." And we're going back and forth, back and forth. I'm yelling at her, and she's yelling back at me. And eventually, I get my Karen on, and I say, "Let me speak to your manager." So she goes to get her manager, and it's very clear that as she's going to get the manager, she's painting me as the bad guy. More specifically, a hostile bad guy. So by the time the manager comes to the call, he's coming with that sort of hostile energy. "Sir, I believe my employee told you exactly what you need to hear. You will not have anyone till next week." So I come back with the same energy. I'm yelling at him. We're going back and forth, and eventually I had enough. I threatened the guy, said, "I'm going to give you a very bad review. Julio, I got your name, if you don't fix this today." Now here's some good news for you, Julio. The guy that came over to fix my internet last week gave me the fix. He said all you need to do is a server reset. It's something that you can do, but it is technical. So if you're not capable of doing that, send someone over today. And when I told Julio about the first path, a server reset, he somewhat scoffed it off. "A server reset? Sir, trust me, that won't work." And I told him to do it. I yelled at him. And eventually Julio said, all right, fine, I'll do it. But trust me, it's not going to work." So Julio disappears for a few. He does the server reset. I check my internet. And guess what? It's working full force. By the time Julio comes back, he's like, "It's still not working, right?" I say, "It is working." And now he thinks I'm going to rub it in his face, be saying, "I told you so." But I didn't. Instead, I said thank you and I hung up. Now, this was a situation where at the time with ArmaniTalks, I mean, your boy was talking about emotional intelligence, the beauty of keeping calm maintaining patience. I had just gotten done reading Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And within the book, he talks about how whenever you're doing a conflict resolution, you ask the other person strategic questions to get to the resolution. I read all of this. I am talking about all of this. And that's the way that I behave. I'm yelling at not only one person, but two people in the same day. I had lost the battle. I felt bad, but at this point I had internet, luckily. And later on, I had this client call with this one gentleman who was a subject matter expert in his field, but he was a tad bit reserved. During the call, there was this very strange moment where we were almost done. And then I told him, for our call to be done today, you need to yell. And you need to yell at the top of your lungs. The first few times, he said, no, trust me, I can't do something like that. I said, no, do it. He said, no, I can't do something like that. I said, we're not finishing the call until you do it. So he's like, a very wimpy yell. And I kept forcing him to do it, right? And each time he's getting closer and closer and closer until, boom, he does this loud scream and it's extending for a long time. Now you may be thinking, why are you having him scream for again? Because within the content creation and public speaking space, a strategic yell flames away limiting beliefs and it makes the person feel bold. Right after he screamed like that, I asked him, how do you feel? He said, amazing. I could tell that a lot of his limiting beliefs were now in ashes. I thought that was done for the day. But 5 hours later, he texted me something that made me very proud. He said, Armani, I posted my first ever LinkedIn video today. That's why I was working with this client for. He had a lot of this great knowledge and experiences, but the problem with him was that he was too scared to hit publish. For that call that we had, I believe it played a ripple effect that led him to feeling bold and finally hitting publish. I guarantee you, his LinkedIn followers are going to win because he's an industry expert who's now giving his knowledge away for free to the masses. So I thought about it and I realized, wait a minute. Just imagine if I didn't yell at these guys and they felt as though they could just get away with making me wait an entire week for the internet. What would have been the alternate scenario? I go to Starbucks and I do my client call there. Does the background noise within Starbucks lead to a personal moment with the client where we can have a breakthrough moment? Is it appropriate for me to be in Starbucks yelling at my laptop, come on, bro, scream, scream? No, I would be a nuisance to all the other people in Starbucks. And this gentleman, this industry expert, would not feel as though it's a personal moment for him to be vulnerable and yell like that. So that's when I completely reframed the scenario. Yes, I did yell at them. Yes, I did lose the battle. But in terms of the bigger picture, I believe I won the war. If you were to ask me today, hey Armani, you're 4 years removed from that scenario, would you yell at them again? I'd say yes. Because I'm sure those guys now understand there is a fix for situations like this, that they don't need to make people wait a week. And who knows the ripple effects that solution led to within their company. If I didn't yell at them and let them get away with bad behavior, imagine how many other people that they would have robbed of internet for a week. So this is one of those situations where I truly do believe to this day, I lost the battle, but I won the war. In the immediate moment, it felt like a loss, but in terms of the bigger picture, after factoring in all the variables, I won. You could have your own interpretation of it, but from my perspective, I won. So this is not only a great philosophy for war strategy, the difference between knowing battles and wars, but it's also very important in terms of making sense of your own life. Sometimes it feels like you're taking loss after loss after loss, which you are, by the way. You're losing a lot of battles. But every now and then, take a pause and look at the bigger picture. Are you winning the war? Sometimes the battles lead to you winning the war, and other times life throws a counterintuitive lesson to us where you lose a lot of battles and still win the war. Make sense of your life experiences by understanding basic war strategy, and you'll be shocked how war strategy can help you improve your communication skills. If you enjoyed today's talk, drop that like for me right on below, and thank you very much for joining me.